So it was really interesting how we started our business. We were doing a master's subject together and we were in the same group. And we realised that we weren't insincere sycophants to each other, but we actually had some friction and it made both of our design become better and evolve. And I think that with Anthony's arts background and my ecology background, we saw that there was an opportunity to kind of create a really interesting set of hybrid solutions to design problems.
Yeah, and because we'd been friends when we were in this subject, we assumed that we would be group members and it would be really easy, and it really wasn't. And I think once we got through that, that's when we decided we could probably have a business together, because we weren't scared to tell each other if we felt like something needed to be different, or if we wanted to challenge each other's ideas, we could do it in a way that wasn't confrontational, because we did have the friendship to start with. I think that there's so many benefits, especially for Alistair and I, who essentially graduated and started our own business. So every landscape architecture firm that we've worked with, we've been able to gain skills, and it can just be silly things that could be to do with insurance, or it could be on how a specific plan is laid out, and they're just those base skills that we didn't get, essentially, which we've gotten now, but I think it's a really nice collaborative process.
It is, and we were sharing an office with two different architecture firms, Boark and Green Sheep Collective, and that was fantastic to be able to kind of bounce ideas off them, even though it's an associated industry, not the exact same industry, just being around other designers and that once again it's that thing of cooperation rather than competition.
Even being able to get the advice off other small business owners who are maybe 7 years in as opposed to our 5, there's just different wisdom that they share with you about the running of a business, like separate to the design field.
It really was an exponential learning curve when we first started. I think it was the second week of having the business set up, we had our business name and we had our website and all of that set up, so we needed to do our insurances. And so we were flying blind, weren't we? So we'd ring people, do we need public indemnity? No, you don't need that. It's like, and then you do need it, we don't need it. And,
you definitely need public indemnity.
Yeah. And we were like, what do we need? It's like,
I was going to say, we're still not sure, but we've got it.
Yeah.
I think clients are definitely open to learning, and I think that they bounce off what our interests are. But I think one of the key things we've learnt through our business is when we densely plant a garden bed, it doesn't actually leave as much opportunity for weeds and other plants to grow. So we're trying to develop a toolkit of learning through our projects that hopefully we can then apply to public space.
I think too it's about equal measure of communication and misdirection, because a private client doesn't care if a plant's indigenous or if it's been classified away. They just want it to look good and to perform. So we'll often have 40% locally indigenous Melbourne plants in a design, and the client's none the wiser.
I definitely think that it's in the current zeitgeist, and we are becoming more and more interested in it as a discipline. So I think yes. I think that it's starting to change.
And I think no. Because I think we're still way too enamoured with the aesthetic. Like you take this award-winning design that we're sitting in right now, I think it looks fantastic. I think it's gorgeous. But 1 cubic metre of concrete releases a cubic metre of greenhouse gases. The production of mulch going through a shredder, the production of these plants in a nursery.
But it's this conversation that shows that it's in the industry.
Yes, but this is the physicalised form of what the industry is doing.
Yeah. I think the future could be different. I think that the potential's there.
I think we need a radical shift in the way that we practice to actually have any meaningful change in climate change. That's all right, we disagree.
Yeah.
think there's a lot of like tick boxes with the public realm, you know, because and I think that the reason why we enjoy designing in the private realm is because we have so much more creative freedom. But yeah, I think, and this is kind of what we were touching on in our presentation, is that these kind of lists, like we did a subdivision in Ivanhoe, which is a kind of a suburb of Melbourne, which was developed in the kind of 1930s. And it's, you know, exotic street trees and exotic gardens, and the council's now dictated if you're going to do a subdivision, it has to be, you know, entirely Indigenous. But it's the right plant for the right place, you know, and in an area where that ecology has already been destroyed, we need to be looking at what tree is going to be good for capturing diesel particulate pollution, what tree is going to be good for cooling down the house and reducing the amount of energy that house is going to use, what tree is going to get a great big canopy without the roots destroying foundations of houses. So having really restricted ideology of trying to recreate the bush in the suburbs, we need to actually have a much more nuanced approach.
It can be frustrating as well when we maybe get a council plan and the brief needs to be as cheap as possible, and we want the minimum amount of trees, just basically whatever the minimum the council requires, and that can be quite frustrating for us because it's not really about how the landscape is functioning, it's just about it's about money. Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is frustrating, definitely. Energetic, interesting, and forward thinking. Those forwards.
Connectivity, fun, and challenging.